Namaste. This week we have talked about, well, yesterday I should say, we talked about the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is one of the main, or I should say longest nerves in the body. It starts in the brain, it travels down all the way to the stomach and the intestines, and it connects to the heart and the lungs. You can activate it through the throat as well as facial muscles. And I was speaking yesterday how important eye bags can be to help to calm the vagus nerve. So with the vagus nerve, there's something called the vagal tone. And it is said to be a healthy vagal tone if we're able to fluctuate back and forth between the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is what comes up with trauma. It's what comes up when we're triggered. It's what comes up when we're like super busy, when things are hectic, when we get stressed, when we have anxiety, when we are under a state of fear. And, you know, even just driving, I mean, my goodness, this week in Nashville, the traffic has been ridiculous. Just driving out, especially through rush hour, and it seems like rush hour is getting longer and longer these days. You know, it's been highly stressful. And if you think about just this pandemic and the fact that we've all been through this collective trauma, not just with our families, communities, states, nation, but the entire world, we have been amped up in the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is where we have the fight, flight, or freeze reaction. But the parasympathetic nervous system, and this is what yoga, mindfulness, and meditation is trying to help us to shift to. This is the state where we can get relaxed. This is the state that allows us to feel calm and contented, where we feel, you know, more peaceful, where basically it's called rest and digest. But we need the flexibility of being able to go back and forth between the two to maintain that healthy vagal tone. And so yesterday during the blissful and gentle practices, we focused on not just any type of weight or pressure on the brow can help. And I mentioned that, oh my goodness, since last Friday, I haven't been able to sleep. I haven't been able to go to sleep easily, and I haven't been able to stay asleep. And so that went on for like 3 nights. Well, the last 3 nights, I've been putting my lavender eye pillow over my head just so that I'm breathing in that calming essential oil, and I'm able to stimulate, activate, which is calming, the vagus nerve to get more into the parasympathetic nervous system. That way I can actually fall asleep. I'm not staying asleep, but at least it's helping me get to sleep. We talked about conscious breathing. And if you think about it in yoga, we're always promoting that, whether it's diaphragmatic breathing, whether it's the ujjayi breath when we're doing a flow, where we're doing a cleansing breath. Basically, anytime you're aware of your breath, controlling your breath in a mindful way, that's going to help. When we're in that stressed out state, we tend to get a disconnect between the mind and the body. The breath gets all erratic, the heart rate gets erratic. And so the vagus nerve is responsible for the heart rate and the breath rate. There are certain poses we get into with yoga that I'll encourage a longer, slower exhalation. For instance, forward folds. We'll be doing that today. But that longer, slower exhalation is also a great way to activate and to calm ourselves down. You think about the breath work coming down into the belly, creating that ballooning effect. That helps with digestion, the whole rest and digest. Chanting and singing, which we didn't do yesterday in class, and I was planning to do it today, but it requires music and it just doesn't translate through Zoom. So in the end, I will give you a suggestion for a mantra and even an artist to use if you want to do like a 20-minute mantra meditation. In gentle, we did a yoga nidra. I'm going to do a little yoga nidra with you today. Any type of meditation is going to help with the activation of the vagus nerve. Certain body postures that we'll be doing today will help with the vagus nerve. And I'm trying to think what else was there that I wanted to mention. Those were really the main things that I would suggest. I will say last night when I taught at Unity, I did a different type of gentle flow with them. And we did a few exercises that we're going to do in the beginning. And then I went into all restorative with them, and I gave them lavender scented towels to cover their eyes. I gave them yoga nidra. We did some meditation on breath. And almost all the 17 people who showed up last night were either already in tears or about to be in tears, or they were feeling like they were getting ready to implode or explode because we've been in the Scorpio energy. We're moving into this lunar eclipse, and they were feeling all these emotions and tension just kind of rising up inside of them. And I've received so many comments back saying how much it helped them. So I may try to film an extra restorative yoga if I have the time for this weekend. And if I do that, I'll put it up on the YouTube for everyone to see and to practice with this topic. So we're going to actually start on the mat, but if you could look, I have a blanket wider than the mat. If you could go ahead and set that up, that would be fantastic. Once you have the blanket laid out, you can sit on a bolster. Now, when you're sitting on a bolster, one foot can be in front of the other. However, if your knees don't land to the floor, or if you have sensitive or tight hips, it may be better for you to go into Sukhasana, which is the ankles stacked under the calves. All right, the first thing we're going to do is get right into just a couple exercises. We'll work with our breath, and then we're going to lay down in a restorative position. So we're going to start with the arms extended out like a T and the palms open, and then we'll curl the fingertips into the shoulders. All right, on the in-breath, we're winging the arms back, opening the chest and throat. And on the exhalation, we're pulling the navel in, rounding the back, closing the arms together. They don't have to touch though. And then inhale, again, winging open. And exhaling, rounding the back. It could be like a little cat-cow here. Inhaling and exhaling. Do that a few more times. By the way, this is one of the exercises that was mentioned specifically for the vagus nerve in a medical article that I researched. Do two more. And then inhale, sit upright, and your hands can rest on your lap. We're going to roll the shoulders up towards the ears, and then exhale, roll them down and back. Inhale, rolling the shoulders up to the ears, and exhale down and back. Let's do that a few more rounds. Feel free to use that Ujjayi Pranayama or a diaphragmatic breath. Good. And then we're going to land the fingertips down towards the floor beside us. We'll inhale, lift the right arm skyward, and then exhale, lean over. Propping onto the left palm and staying grounded in the seat. Now to be truly yin, you're welcome to curve the upper arm and just let it hang in a more whimsical manner. So feel free to keep it extended and active or in that C curve. Close the eyes and breathe. Let your breath be the emphasis here. And even though we're giving our breathing treatment now in this pose, remember anytime you're starting to feel stressed out in life, it's important to utilize pranayama so that we can keep the mind and body connected, so that we can respond instead of react. Because chronic stress and trauma that's not dealt with can be a disruptor to the health of the mind, the body, and our emotions. It can lead to deep depression, anxiety, and major fatigue. Now take that hand and hold the backside of your head and slowly roll that shoulder open, blossoming through that side of your chest and heart. Couple more deep breaths. And inhale, fly that right arm up and let it carry you all the way back up to sit. Whew, that was pretty deep. Let's take it to the left. Reaching that arm skyward, propping onto the right hand. And then you can discover how far you want to lean. So don't feel like you have to dump all the way down, right? It's more or less where it feels good to your body, where you're feeling benefit, where you're receiving the sensation of the stretch, but where you can openly and effectively breathe. If you want to be more yin, you can get more collapsed. And feel free to close the eyes. Breath is primary, and the pose is secondary. Take a hold of the back side of the head. Slowly roll that shoulder open, maybe even looking upward. Inhale, sail that arm up and let it bring your torso up as well. Beautiful. Take a lift through the crown of your head, and you're going to exhale, spin to the right. Now that right hand can just land onto that prop that you're sitting on if your hand can't reach the floor. The other hand's just going to cross over to the opposite thigh. I'm not cranking into the twist or taking it any deeper than that initial rotation. Part of the stomach meridian in Chinese medicine travels across the front side of the abdomen. So when we open up into back bends, when we do these twists, it's helpful for that meridian. Take a nice in-breath, lift through your crown. As you exhale, spin to the other side. Feel how the spine naturally springs up on the inhale, sinking slightly on the exhale. Notice how the breath can help to clear any clutter or restless nature of the mind. And gently release from the twist. Yesterday we did some tapping, and I want to do that again today because this is used for releasing trauma. This is used in trauma-sensitive yoga, and a lot of psychologists are using this with their clients. So we're going to be using our fingers, and we're going to be tapping the back of the neck, so that vagus nerve actually comes down through this brain stem before it branches elsewhere. I haven't done a ton of research on tapping, but I've looked it up at least, I don't know, 5 to 10 different times through my years of teaching once I discovered it. And it's something that I occasionally use even before teaching a shamanic journey. All right, continue up the back of the head. Over the ears, the side of the head, to the top, across the crown. And every time I do this, I think of the song, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. And then you can take it to the hairline. And then I sprinkle it more. I do a little different technique when I get to the brow. You want to go all the way across the brow, from the center across to the temples and back. And then take one of the fingers. I usually use my middle finger to tap the third eye. That's just the longest finger on my hand, so it feels more natural to use that one. And that is a good stimulus for the pineal gland, our intuitive center, for our emotional center. And then come down just below the eyes, and the skin right below the eyes, you can tell is thin and sensitive, so I don't do it quite as hard there. And then to the cheeks. Always thinks it feels good here at the cheeks. And then, of course, to the jaw, to the back of the jaw, and follow your jawline down. The chin. I even come across the top of the mouth, over the upper lip, because there are marma points there as well. And then it feels a little unusual to me at the throat, so I just do it very lightly, like under the eyes. And then across the collarbones, to the front of the shoulders. That always feels nice. And then to the upper chest. And then when you find the breastbone, I usually come back to that singular finger because there's a marma point for the heart chakra. And then across the chest again. So I had something really unusual happen after I taught classes yesterday in Franklin. I drove to Green Hills to get my acupuncture. And as soon as I pulled into the parking lot, I had this weird rush of sensation up my right side. And then it went into my chest and it felt like a little piercing in the heart. And then I got this huge lump in my throat and this burning in my brain. And it really freaked me out. Luckily, I just parked, turned the car off. And because I was feeling so much tension in the chest, keep coming up the face like we did before, I leaned over the steering wheel and it scared me. I felt like it was almost like a blood clot coming up to my brain. I don't know. It was weird. I just leaned over the steering wheel and started calling in the angels for support, and sat there for about 5 minutes and started going into a deep sweat, opened up the door, let some cool air in, and then it went away. It was really bizarre. And once I got my acupuncture, I just completely blissed out and it never came back. And so I was talking to Anne, my acupuncturist, who's also a yoga teacher. And she was like, "What were you teaching about?" And I was like, "The vagus nerve." So I don't know what was up there. All right, now sit for a moment with your palms open. But I will say, I started thinking about something right before I pulled into the parking lot, and it got me a little aggravated. So I don't know if it was a physical reaction, but I want you to notice your reaction, your body's response after the tapping. I always feel like I could just drop into meditation at this point. All right, we're going to open the eyes. And we're going to take a restorative back bend. So you can take the bolster to the low back. And now I'm chilly again. I'm going to put my sweatshirt back on. Get really comfortable here, because we're going to do some pranayama. You may have noticed we went right into posturing instead of centering, even though we were doing breath work with it. Now I want us to lie down and to open up this area where the vagus nerve travels. Flip your palms open. Close your eyes. And if you happen to have brought an eye bag or a towel to your mat, you're welcome to place it over the brow. So let your feet fan away from each other with some separation between the ankles. Bring a wave of relaxation up the toes, to the knees, and into your hips. Feel the shape of your upper body. Give in and enjoy the support underneath your back. Allow the shoulders to drape down, fingers to curl in. Soften the interior and the exterior of the mouth. Relaxing the rows of teeth away from each other so the teeth do not feel clenched. Let the tongue melt away in the mouth. And allow your lips to slightly part. Now that you've checked in with your body, we're going to do some conscious breathing. We'll do the diaphragmatic breath, since it has a calming effect. And this is to shift gears to the parasympathetic nervous system that assists us not just in rest and digest, but in regeneration. Let your belly swell on the inhalations, deflate on the exhalations. With the same occurrence happening in your chest, feeling it rise with the in-breath and fall on the out-breath. It doesn't matter which region fluctuates first, as long as you feel it in both of these areas. Affirming as you breathe, I am aligning my mind and my body. I am aligning my head to my heart. I am aligning to my higher and more intuitive self. I am aligning to truth and love. It's easy to let go of the breath, but try to maintain your conscious control for this specific purpose today. The more we practice and train ourselves here on the mat, the more we'll be apt to come back to it and to use it off the mat. Rest and renew and restore restore, and regenerate. Notice the response in your mind and body. You could probably stay here much longer, but this is yin, so we need to move on. Let's slide the feet back and let's explore reclined butterfly. Feet together, knees apart. Without propping blocks under the knees, this allows the lower body to be in a yin position and just using gravity as an assistant. So just like pre-pandemic, when teachers would walk around to press down on the shoulders in this pose, right? We would never push down on the knees here. That would be too much for the hips. But gravity is encouraging this opening and this deepening in a natural way. Few more breaths. Notice if one side or the other is speaking more loudly. And then let's slowly tilt the knees up. All right, when you ground your feet, separate the feet so that the knees touch. And make sure that's comfortable for the low back so the feet can go as wide as they need to. We're going to fly the arms up overhead. Turn the palms to face each other. And then you're going to crisscross the arms. And the fingertips are going to hang down towards the shoulders. The elbows stay pointed upward. And the arms are in between the chin and the chest, so you still have clearance to breathe. It's the shoelace arms. This helps to open up the meridians of the large and small intestines that travel through the outseam of the shoulders, down into one of the fingers. Couple more breaths. On your next inhale, reach the arms back up. Remember how you cross the arms, and you're going to crisscross the other way. And if you can't remember if it feels the same, it usually is, so do it to the other. Please don't shield the face with your arms. You still want to have the nose clear. And you want to continue your conscious breath work. Diaphragmatic breathing is probably best. Gently release your arms down beside you and let your feet roll to the inside of the left foot, to the outer edge of the right foot. So you're taking a twist with the low back and belly. Now the stomach meridian travels down the front side of the body, across the abdomen, top of the thighs, the gallbladders to the outside or to the outseam of the left and right side of the body. So I'm bringing these meridians up because remember the vagus nerve goes to the stomach and the intestines, which is why I wanted to do the shoelace of the arms and a few twists for the stomach. Now, you don't have to do this, but if you want to prop the right ankle on top of that left knee, check in to make sure it feels okay. Don't want it to create any pain or strain. Let your right foot slip back down to the floor and then re-elevate your knees. The feet are wide apart, and then you're going to roll to the outer edge of the left foot, the inner edge of the right. And just be here. Don't stack the foot yet. Feel how this is influencing your belly, your back, your hips, your right leg. And keep that steady, even flowing breath. Perhaps testing the left ankle to prop on the right thigh. Let it go if you find that it's catching your breath. All right, we'll allow the left foot to slip down and just roll to your left side. If you have the eye bag on, it can slip away and you can prop yourself up. And once you come to prop yourself up, this is where we're going to use that blanket that we set up. And we're going to come down into a position where the top of the thighs and the hips and the pelvis are on that extra padding. The feet are going to angle away from each other. Arms are going to cross, and you're going to rest your head on top. So if you didn't have an eye bag, that's okay, because now we're starting to put the pressure here in a different way. I usually mention this pressure is good for the third eye, the pineal gland, and it is, but it's also been shown scientifically to activate and to calm the vagus nerve. So in passive crocodile, I want you to return to practicing your diaphragmatic breathing. Loosen up your low back and your legs. Soften through the glutes and buttocks. We're going to slide the arms apart to goddess arms, lower to the right ear and cheek, and slide the left knee up in line with the hip like a half of a frog leg. Close the eyes. Soften the muscles of your face. Relaxing the brow line. the crease between the eyes, and your jaw. So remember, it comes to the throat, out to the face. We're going to try to maintain that frog shape with the left leg, but we're slowly going to come up and rest on Sphinx arms so that we're building up again into a heart opening position. Elbows aligned under the elbows or further out ahead if you need less of a bend in your back. The head can be up to open the throat, but you can also bow your head. So I'm going to keep mine up today, but you can choose one. Or you could do one half the time and the other shape the second half of the time. All right, we're going to take the left leg back. We're going to recross the arms, but we're in the habit of always crossing the arms one way, just like we typically cross the legs one way. So see if you can stack the other arm on top and come back to passive crocodile and give a little wiggle and rock to your hips. Loosen everything up and then come back to stillness. Feel free to practice a light Ujjayi Pranayama. You can hear and listen to the sound of your breath. All right, we're going to take that frog leg to the right side. So we'll separate the arms into that cactus or goalpost shape. We'll turn to rest on the left ear and cheek. Bringing the right knee up, flipping to the inside of that foot. Closing the eyes, softening the facial muscles. Perhaps noticing if we're more or less flexible in the neck. More or less flexible on this tip. Breathe. On the next in-breath, we're going to stack back onto Sphinx arms. Turning the head more neutral at first. And then, of course, you can determine, do you want to keep the head held up or do you want to drape it? Try not to allow the mind to wander. I know it has that tendency to do so. But this is where we're doing our training for life. Let this breathing be medicinal for this collective trauma we've endured. Let it help you to activate the vagus nerve to calm yourself down. Most of you will be seeing this, recording as we get closer to this full moon where emotions are exaggerated and amplified typically. So this is also therapeutic for that energy. Your next in-breath, go ahead and take your right leg back. Slide your hands under your shoulders. And when you push the hips up, crawl the knees ahead so that they're padded with that blanket. And then you're going to move into tabletop. So in tabletop, we're really anchoring through the hands, shins, and feet. So there's no sway back. The belly's drawing in, which is what we need after doing those earlier positions. Keep the neck neutral. You're looking downward. Now, tuck your toes under, push up and back to downward facing dog. From Adho Mukha Svanasana, you're grounding your hands, lifting up through your seat. Three more breaths. Remembering any inversion is helpful to calm the nervous system. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen at first when we don't have the strength. Not having the strength and feeling the weakness can make us get a little stressed here. But since you've been putting it into practice, walk your hands now back towards the toes. Let your heels land. Let your knees bend and bow over to dangling. Now, this is the position where I want us to focus on a longer out breath. So, for instance, if you count into 4 on your in breath, try to take it to 6 or 8 or more on the out breath. If you breathe into 5 or 6 on the in breath, take it to a longer count, 8, 10 or more. This is also good for refreshing the skin of the face and allowing us to help to reboot the mind. Now we'll walk the hands forward. We'll come back down to the knees. And let's go ahead and grab that bolster again. We're going to take a shavasana, our relaxation. So I would suggest the bolster underneath the thighs, the blanket either under head or over the body. I actually want to take it over my feet because my feet are cold. If you have that towel or eye pillow, let's use it again over the eyes. And even though I don't always suggest it, or don't always say it, I always suggest it. Let me rephrase that. So take the eyes and cover them with your lids or that towel or pillow. And settle in. This time you don't have to worry about some conscious breath work. You can just let the breath go. And I'm going to talk you into relaxation if you want to listen to my guidance. And try to relax all 10 toes, the arches and the ankles of both feet. Relaxing your calves, both right and left. Relax the knees, both right and left. Bring it up to your thighs, front and back, inner and outer, right to left. Soften your seat, from the right cheek to the left cheek. Relax the pelvic floor. Lower the upper abdomen. Bringing that wave of relaxation up to the chest, both right and left. Circle around, relax your back, the lower end to the mid, the upper. Relax the shoulders, arms, and your hands. Right to left. Notice the movements you experience as you observe your breath flowing in, back out. Take a swallow to relax your throat. And soften your neck, appreciating the support under your head. Softening the face and withdrawing away from the senses. And affirming, I align my mind and body I align to truth and love. I align to my higher intuitive knowing. I align to this moment of now. Now, I would suggest if you need a longer rest period, to pull up a yoga nidra after I end this class. And then I'll show you the mantra. If you would rather do a mantra meditation, you can look that up. For now, take the bag or towel off the eyes. Circle the arms overhead, not so they're tracking beside the ears, but they're creating this wide Y or V shape formation, which is good for opening up the heart and lung meridians. On your next exhalation, draw the knees in and feel free to hug them into the wind release pose. Couple more deep breaths. Rolling over to one side of your body. Coming up to take seats. Now, I would suggest if you go into the mantra meditation, you may feel like you can just drop right in now. But if you needed that tapping again, you could do that. And I want to show you, I want to pull up on my phone the artist that I usually use for this mantra. And this mantra, let's see if I can hold it up. It's Jai Jagadesh is how I say her name. And I will post this on the Moonbeam Yoga Facebook page as well. The one that I use is Expand the Intuitive Knowing. And I'll sing it for you really quick. It's called Ekankar Satguru Prasad Ekankar. And it means there is one creator, all of creation, and all is a blessing of the creator, and may we receive his or her grace. So I'll sing it for you really quick. Ekankar Satguru Prasad Satguru Prasad, Ek Onkar, Ek Onkar, Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad, Ek Onkar, Ek Onkar, Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad, Ek Onkar, Ek Onkar, Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad, Ek Onkar. And it goes on and on and on. And that repetition is said to be alchemaic for a negative mindset or for times where we're feeling insecure or less confident. So we'll close out this practice together by bringing our hands to prayer. Singing and chanting again can also help the vagus nerve. I hope you've enjoyed this practice. I hope this reminds you to take the lessons learned on the mat, off the mat. Namaste.
That was good. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me, Carlos. It's always helpful to have someone like with me. So I'm just not talking to a screen. So thank you very much. I just realized my mouse has died, so I can't turn off the video yet. So I'm gonna have to go charge it so that I can end it. But I hope to see you next week and have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.